Before this video begins, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Also, be sure to check out my affiliate links in the description below for discounts on car mods and other car products. Okay, let's get into the review. Hello and welcome. Today we are inside of a 2015 Mini Cooper Countryman S. This is an ALL4 model, meaning it is an all-wheel drive model. I would like to thank Soda Motors in Newport, Rhode Island for allowing me to review this vehicle. Their link is down in the description below, and this car is currently for sale. This Countryman S is finished in red, and it does have 2 rows of seats, with seating for 5. This weighs in at about 4,100 pounds. This specific one has about 165,000 miles, and is selling for $11,000. This is powered by a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, producing 181 horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque. This is mated with the 6-speed automatic shiftable transmission. This achieves 25 miles per gallon city, 31 miles per gallon on the highway, and averages for 27 miles per gallon combined. Alright, so putting this into drive, this does have a nice white beige sand color interior, and so far it sounds okay. I just gave you a start up, and it really doesn't sound too bad for a little 1.6-liter engine. This is an all-wheel drive model, so I don't really expect there to be any tire spin, but we will perform a 0 to 60 shortly. We are currently in normal drive mode. This does also have a sport mode as the only other drive mode. This does also have paddles, so we will be testing those out, the rear paddles, just to see how responsive and quick they change gears. So you do get a digital speedometer in here, an analog tachometer, and you also do get an analog speedometer that runs above the infotainment system in that giant ring. You also do get a fuel gauge digital inside of that infotainment system. It's an interesting little setup. As for my initial driving impressions so far on this, tire noise is pretty quiet. Wind noise is very quiet. There's a little bit more tire noise though than there is wind noise. However, we're only going about 40, so. Alright, so driving this Mini so far, let's send it into this little corner, see how handling feels. Going about 30. Okay, yeah, great grip. Feels very good. There's a little bit of body roll, but nothing too bad. And for the brakes, they feel pretty confidence inspiring. They're not the most powerful, but they feel okay. The steering is a relatively heavy and sporty steering. I like it, and it's pretty direct to the road. Feels good. For your pedals, you also do get a floor pedal, which is nice. And it is, they're both chrome capped, so that's pretty cool. If you rev this up, you can hear the turbo. So yeah, you can really hear the turbo in here. It's pretty fun, honestly, driving so far. This little Countryman. That was a cop right there, so it can't really speed. It has a nice little drone to it. It has obviously all its stock exhaust, but it almost sounds similar to how it would sound without maybe a resonator delete. It doesn't. It sounds pretty good, honestly. Has a nice deep rumble and a pretty deep tone until you get higher into the RPMs. It does have a soft touch blinker, which is nice. And if you put your foot down, it'll kick up pretty well. Until you really put your foot into it, though, it doesn't really like to move out of the gear it's in. It's not in sport mode, though. So let me pop into sport mode, see if that changes. Okay, so yeah, so it doesn't change the suspension, but it changes the transmission, so it stays in a lot higher gear. And it's very eager to jump up. Okay. Yeah, so the wind noise really is very subdued in here. It's pretty quiet to drive, but it does have a little bit of like that tugging sensation. Like if I go on and off the brake, on and off the gas pedal, it'll be like, it'll pull you forwards pretty quick and immediately like that, yeah. But Oh, nice C5. But overall, so far the tire noise is the only thing that's a bit loud right here. Overall, it's pretty quiet to drive, besides a little bit of tire intrusion. They're not very big tires. They're only 205s, riding on 17-inch wheels. And they are also run-flat tires, which is an interesting choice from Mini. These originally cost nearly $60,000, so they really did put a lot of effort into these, with all the engineering making it a pretty fun driver's little car. And this is only an auto. They often come in manual, so. And once we get around this bend and we can see, we can actually do a little 0 to 60 test. First, let's do a little braking test. We'll just slam it right about here. All right, feels very good. And let's floor it. In sport. A turbo spool sounds amazing. And 60. Wow, that is really not that bad for quickness. It does have some body roll to it though. Once again, it's nothing drastic, but it's not nothing too amazing either. So that's sport. Let's pull it out of sport mode, put it back into normal driving mode. So you'll see the transmission kicks down. Engine's obviously a lot less quiet. As for visibility in here, it is great everywhere because this is basically a little rectangle with wheels on it. So it very rounded off. It doesn't look bad, but it yeah, it's very easy to manage, easy to see out of. You do have a panoramic sunroof in here also, which is 2 tiers actually, as you can see. So 2 separate sections, which I haven't seen that often. Let's pull in here for a second and test a little turning radius of this Mini Cooper. In 2011, this is when this generation came out, of a Countryman. It was both the first all-wheel drive Mini and the first 4-door Mini. So it had a couple of firsts with it. So yeah, turning radius is very tiny, as you could just see. Not even a problem. And let's hop back out, go right. Okay, so you retain grip. I didn't get any tire spin there, but I almost got it too, to step out a little bit. It's an all-wheel drive car, so it's gonna be pretty balanced in that. But yeah, overall it's pretty fun to drive in my opinion so far. I enjoy it. Really doesn't sound all that bad, especially if you were to mess with the exhaust a little bit. You can make this thing sound very good. I have a friend who has done that. Handling feels pretty good, at least through the steering. Look at this, like I'm barely moving the wheel and it's like whipping around. Very, very fun steering. As for the ride, it's not the smoothest though. Going over those bumps, it definitely shook the car around a little bit. You'd move, it would feel almost as if you're like gonna fly a little bit through the bumps, so. It's more of a sports tuned suspension, a little bit stiffer. Let's actually test those paddles. So we will slow down. Let's put in sport, test out the paddles. So first, second. Okay, so they're not the worst to respond. It is a 2015, so they'd gotten that down a lot with the response time of those, so that wasn't too bad. It's not the most engaging though. Like if I'm doing it here, 6, unless I'm in sport mode, whoops. Okay, so the paddles don't tend to really do too much unless you're at lower speeds. But driving here, 5, 4, yeah, it's a bit slower at higher speeds. It's not the quickest overall to change gears anyway in the paddle mode, but it's not too bad. Really not bad. Alrighty, that'll just about wrap up this POV drive of a 2015 Mini Cooper Countryman S, and this is an all-4 all-wheel drive model. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to Soda Motors in Newport, Rhode Island for allowing me to review this vehicle. Take care.